Alright, welcome back. Toby's game is up and going. And today, we are going to have some stories from Reddit that no one will ever believe that these are true stories. Alright, you ready for it? Y'all set? Y'all cozy? We're pretty cozy today. I've got a matching sweatpants jogger suit on.
It's like back from the 80s.
Yeah, I know. Got some snacks, got some drinks. Buckle it. Alright, I was camping in the Appalachian Mountains with 3 of my guy friends. We were all laughing and telling stories about the fire one night around midnight. The friend next to me grabbed my leg and pointed at the woods. We both saw a man's silhouette standing there. He called out, but he turned around and vanished from sight. We were 18, no self-service. The camp was all pitched up at midnight. Too late to search for another spot, but we might get away from whoever it was, and too scared to search for him. We decided to sleep through the night, and there was 2 men every single hour of the night watching to make sure that this guy never came back. No signs of him for the rest of the night. We go out into the woods all right the next day for the next 2 days. Then, 2 days later, 2 hikers were stabbed and killed by a mentally disturbed man who encountered them on the trail near where we were camping. Every now and then, I wonder how close we have come to having our cards punched that night by what could have been a knife welding murder.
Jesus Christ. First off, make note where that was so that we never go.
The Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, that's where Gina and Brian lived, no? Where she had a C-section because with the doctor doing the anesthesia wrong?
Not even close. Alright, the comments were popping.
I mean, okay. And I truly believe that that's like, and I hate to throw around like social justice terms, but I do believe that that's male privilege. It's that thought of I am potentially in danger hardly ever crosses my mind.
Well, I mean, you're in the Appalachian Mountains, and there's a guy that pops up in silhouette and fucking vanishes. We'll have to bleep that word out. That's scary. No, thank you. I don't want to go there. I don't want to camp there.
No, what I'm saying is, you know how sometimes when women, or like maybe when you get that like eerie feeling, it's like, hey, I may not be safe here.
Uh-huh.
I don't get that. Like, I feel...
But these are Appalachian Mountains, so it's a little bit different.
I don't know. You don't have no gun? It's America, baby.
They're 18. They don't know.
An ally has been slain.
All right. Next one. Changing topics. So, we have a sweet older lady in our church, and it was a retired nurse. Never married, no kids. She had a heart attack, and while she was in her hospital, her niece and nephew came and took all of her stuff. She had a modest apartment, but she had some very nice crystal and silver and some lovely furniture. When she came home, she had no dishes and almost no furniture in her apartment. Several years later, she passed away. Her most recent will, dated after her heart attack, left $1 to each of her niece and nephew. Everything else was left to the church. Her estate was $9 million. That church has lots of money.
Like the church got $9 million from the lady?
Yeah, $9 million in assets from the lady because her niece and nephew took all of her stuff when she was in the hospital. And
so then
she gave them each a dollar.
Kind of like a revenge thing. I was like, fine, see?
Yeah, you take from me, you ain't getting any of my stuff.
Well, damn straight.
That's just not nice.
That's like if we ever end up divorcing, I'm going to put a little note in like...
Hold on. There's no if we. It's just
when?
No. It is a simple never happening. All right. Anyways. End that topic. Just posted about it, but the worst date of my life. Like date as in like...
News story?
Yeah, news story.
Oh, that was fast.
Yeah, it was a short one.
I mean, I feel like I would have done the same thing.
I guess we're going this way.
Not giving the money in?
Fuck no.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it either. I'd have changed my will that night. But this one's about the worst date of her life, not like day of the week, like going on a date. That type of date.
Oh, like hanging out with people? Like a romantic
Like
date?
Yeah, like romantic date. There you go. Okay, that's a good way to put it. Alright, back when I was single and on apps, I matched with this guy and he was super cute. He had a shirtless mirror selfie, which was usually a hard pass for me, but he seemed sweet, nerdy, so I talked to him. He tells me how he's really worked on his body because he was heavily growing up and really awkward with women. I'm thinking, he doesn't realize he's hot. Anyway, I'm homesick that weekend and was bored, so we were messaging a lot and every so often FaceTimed. He was quirky but interesting and kind of funny. He seemed pretty smart too. He's working for a bio for PhD programs. He tells me about how he has a daughter back home in Illinois, that she was the result of one night stand with a friend, and that friend didn't tell him, and he had a daughter until she was about 5 years old.
Okay, pause right there.
Huh.
That's something that I actually do get nervous about. Like if I was single, that's like something, if I just have a one night stand with you, like there is a very slight possibility that I have a child that I know nothing about.
Yeah, well, I hope not.
But you know what I
it's
mean?
realistic. Some women don't tell the men. And then 5
Right.
years later, they'll say, this is too hard. You're involved now.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you owe me this because remember 16 years later you have a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a woman, you don't have that issue because, I hope you notice that you're pregnant.
Well, though there is some people that actually go into childbirth without knowing that they're actually in childbirth.
Like labor?
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Like, you just don't know you're pregnant. Like, you don't have any of the symptoms of normal pregnancy. Some women actually still have periods during it.
But you go into labor without knowing you're actually in labor?
Yeah,
There's
like
no
you
way.
start labor
No.
not knowing, and then like the pains and cramps, they start out like period cramps, and
I
then
can't
they
believe
get
that.
worse.
I can't believe it.
So it's like they'll start out normal, and then they're like, oh, something's wrong, I have to go to the hospital, and then next thing you know, they're like, oh, you're having a baby. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyways, he barely gets to see her, and because she's raised by the mom's friend. So the mom's friend is raising the 5-year-old kid that he didn't know anything about.
Right?
Okay. We wanted to meet soon. I just like talking too much before meeting, but like I said, I was sick. I also agreed to a late night movie because it was the middle of the week and neither of us had tons of time and we talked so much already. I kind of just wanted to be physically in the same room to see if there was any chemistry. We met at the theater, had a couple of drinks at the movie, and it was fine. I was attracted. Second date was okay, but I'm feeling a little off. Something just feels funny, and I'm thinking this isn't going to be more than friends thing. We ended up going to his place to watch Blade Runner, and I'm uncomfortable within the first couple of minutes.
Oh, I can already tell where that's going.
His apartment has weird vibes. It's like super disorganized, and he's hung an old beach towel on the wall as decorations. In parentheses, WTF.
Oh yeah, you're leaving.
I agree. Like, don't go in that place.
Well,
You see it, you leave. Creepy. We sit down and start the movie, and I'm getting more and more uneasy. He leans over to kiss me, and I kiss him back for a second, but tell him I'm not ready for that, and we can please slow down. He says he's fine, and he stops the movie. I look at him and, like, confused. Then he proceeds to tell me that he's in love with me. He's dumped his longtime fiance who lives in Illinois to be with me, and that he would like us to move in together ASAP to try to have a baby. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, get out. Absolutely not. I think he's joking at first, but quickly realized that he isn't. Exactly. Get out. He asked me if I will say that I'm his girlfriend out loud, which I do because I think it's true crime. I watch and I don't want him to murder me.
Right, so she just complies with the things that he's requesting?
Yes! This is why I agree that you should watch true crime shows. Like, learn about everything that anyone could possibly do, and if you're ever in a situation, you know what you've seen before, so you can get out of it. Like, she's doing a good job.
Right, but again, I don't think I would ever find myself in that situation, you know?
Well, you don't know. So the second you go in the house, I'd have been like, leaving, but she was unsure. She was just wanting to meet a guy, and then things got creepy. Which I can see, and now you're thinking of all the true crime shows and you're kind of having a panic attack inside. Yeah, I would be calling a friend right away. I feel like I showed him I'm scared and he's going to freak out. Then he asked me if I'm ovulating right now because it turns him on.
Oh, he's a true pirate. He goes sailing in the Red Sea, baby.
Scary!
Gross.
Oh my gosh. I fake yawn and tell him I'm exhausted and it's a work night and I really need to see him tomorrow. So I'm just going to go home and get some rest. He looks at me totally confused, but says, okay. But before you go, will you do me a favor? At that point, I think I'm about to be murdered. I say, what is it? He asks, will you stand in front of the mirror with me so that I can see how beautiful we look together?
Oh, that's giving like Silent of the Lamb kind of vibes. You know, that guy that makes like clothing out of women's skin.
Oh, that's so creepy. All right, she's like, I'm absolutely terrified at this point. I walk towards him stupidly, but I'm just trying to be polite so I can get this gut feeling out and that something was going wrong and I'm likely not going to get murdered if I follow his rules. This is just insane. We walk into his room and it's a disaster. Piles and piles of clothes everywhere. We stand in front of the mirror briefly and then I say I really have to go. Grab my bag and refuse to him to offer me to walk to the car. Then I straight up run to my car. I get home, check my phone, and there's several video texts of him touching himself, which is absolutely horrifying, and I'm shuddered thinking of them. Now I realize that the reason he isn't with his daughter's life is probably because the mother realized that he was disturbed and she's had a very good reason to keep him in the dark. I'm nauseated just thinking about him. I quit dating for a while and never put myself in another life situation like that again. First of all, good for you to get out of that life situation because that is scary. You never know what someone can do.
Oh, especially not on dating apps. What app was that? Did she ever say?
No, there's no stating what dating app it was on. But like even when I go somewhere, no matter where I am, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. Like, hey, I'm texting. Or I call a lot. I will call you.
Well, so you think, right? What if you would be super embarrassed that you're online dating? Like, that your friends group is totally not accepting.
I would find different friends. If you can't support me, bye. That's where that plays in. How's your game going? Is it
Pretty good. Yeah.
All right, you ready for the next one? I was almost abducted.
Again.
Went to a park when I was
Imagine it's the same person.
No, it's not. Different Reddit user. We're good. I went to the park when I was like 6 with my sister and my mom, and there was a really nice man who helped me up who didn't quite stick the landing at the end of the slide. My mom noticed him and figured he was just being polite. Well, my sister runs off for my mom for just a minute, so I'm alone. I look up and see the man looking at me, walk around the play area behind the slides and back to the pond away from the view of the parents. I was curious, so I followed him. Every kid's problem. I'm too curious. He was crouched by the pond out of sight, and I remember tidbits, but I don't remember what he told me. I was pretty and very mature for my age. Then he was in the middle of asking me, what?
So is this is not recent, this is just something that she's recalling from like the past?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when she was 6.
Mm-hmm.
He was then in the middle of asking me if I was the only one here with my sister or my mom. Absolutely terrified and in a state of panic. I've never seen her like this to that day when my mom had saw me talking to the man. The man ran and started yelling, "What the heck do you think you're doing?" I started sobbing because my mom was yelling. She never yells like that. But it took me a few years to fully understand what happened and what could have happened. I did not have that stranger danger talk, but I just thought the man was nice.
What do you mean you never had the stranger danger talk? Irresponsible parents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should be talking to your kids like right away about the stranger danger talk. Gotta find another one. Alright, this is another good one. Okay? I was 6 or 7 years old, and for weeks I'd been feeling uneasy when playing outside. Walking for school or friends' houses, going to bed, I felt wrong. It was winter and there was snow on the ground. I couldn't sleep, but there wasn't new. I've always been in a light.
That wasn't new?
No, it says this wasn't new.
Yeah.
There's miss typo. That wasn't new. I've always been in the light and in quite, like, a light sleeper. What's the word for light sleeper? Just a light sleeper?
Yeah, like you wake up easily. The quite opposite of me.
Yeah, literally. But usually I just have fake conversations with myself until either I fall asleep or my alarm went off. That night, for some reason, I was compelled to get up and turn on my bedroom light so I could read. After I turned on the light, I grabbed my book and went to my window bench to settle in. And staring at me was two men's faces. To this day, I couldn't describe them to the police sketch artist or anything. I ran to get my parents, and when they came in, obviously the men were gone. My parents don't believe me, so I went back to bed and didn't sleep at all. The next day, when I went outside to walk to school, you could see two sets of footprints going to and from my window, tire tracks in the yard. My parents told me it was some kind of kids playing a prank. For a long time after that, I didn't sleep until the sun started to rise.
Hot jokes on them. It was actually the parents pranking me. Like your parents.
Oh no, my dad, when we had curfew, instead of getting punished for curfew and we were late, he would go around like outside in the yard or hide in our house, and our punishment was like getting scared. Like,
yeah.
He would scare the crap out of us. Last time he had like a mask and he went around our bedroom windows and would like knock on our windows. And then, or if my sister and I would drive in the yard, he would be standing like in a bush and he would jump out at us. Yeah. We never knew where he was coming from. It was different every single time.
Well, the good thing is that you knew you were getting scared.
Yeah, but I mean, until it got to the point where it's like, we would stay past curfew too much, then we would actually get like grounded and stuff. But yeah, you would get scared first, and then. Do you have any stories like that?
No.
Okay, so next one. I have many stories actually, but this one happened in February. I was stuck in Mexico because of COVID. I know it sounds like a dream, but what led up to it wasn't all that much of a dream. I had to go see the doctor downtown, then call for an Uber ride to the mall for groceries. The Uber guy started driving and then pulls out a second cell phone and does some texting. Then he turns to me and says he's not allowed to drop me off at the store doors. He has to drop me off in the parking lot in the back way alley. That's when the rules and all his supervisors will be watching to make sure he doesn't go into the door. That's obviously BS, and I figured something bad was about to happen to me. So I told him I know another driver and I was going to ask him. I lied, I don't know anyone, so I texted all the Uber information I had on the driver and his picture and posted it on Facebook. By then they were getting close to the mall, so I said to him, my driver friend said what you told me is BS and that you have to drive me to the front door. He just looked at me with a smirk and kept driving. So I told him he also had to send me all of his information, including your picture, as well as post it on social media. That's when his face fell and he took me right to the front doors. I turned him into Uber, they didn't do anything, and my hotel. And when I got back to Canada, I wrote Canadian Council about it. They wrote me back to let me know, but because of my experience, they have amended a warning for visiting Mexico to include a warning about potential kidnappings like the one I went through.
That sounds like from the movie Taken.
Yeah, it wasn't a taxi driver, was it?
No. It was just other bystanders at the airport, and they were like from within the taxi.
Yeah.
Like it was, hey, we can share a taxi so that they can figure out. But here's the thing. Again, if I was a girl, because I feel like guys rarely ever have that issue, we would... Like, I don't understand why you would have somebody come... Like, you would bring them to your actual doorstep. Because now you're showing somebody your address. What if they're not actually Uber drivers?
Yeah, no, when I get an Uber, I do 3 blocks out.
Yeah. And then
I'll walk.
Yep.
I'll walk to where I need to go, final destination style.
Yeah.
Like, I am not. That's what we did in Chicago. Remember we had the Airbnb in Chicago?
Yeah.
We told our Uber driver to drop us off at like this coffee shop.
Well, it's because my dad was scared.
Yeah, and every time we dropped out the coffee shop, we would walk like 5 blocks to the house because we weren't sure what this guy was. And granted, they're all screened, but I mean, clearly this guy made it through. And that was just last year, February. No, 2021 February, so like a couple years ago.
Yeah, you're about to lose a kidney.
Yeah, scary. All right, I don't know how much you're going to like this one, but we're going to read it.
If it's with clowns, I don't want to hear about it.
It's clowns.
No.
All right, you ready?
La la la. La la la.
I was about 16 at the town mall, and I was just about closing time, but really had to use the restroom. So I go in to use the bathroom. Just as I'm finishing, I hear the door open and hear a couple of footsteps. I noticed 2 big red clown shoes right in front of my stall.
Fuck that.
I immediately got creeped out. I wait for what seems like forever before the person backs up. Then I open the stall and I see a freaking clown staring at me.
Yep,
Not moving, not saying anything, just looking at me. He looked like a creepy version of what a fake smile printed on a face looks like. I walked past him without even washing my hands, ran out of that restroom and out of the mall in my car. A week later, I read the news article about how a mall security guy was stabbed outside the mall by a person wearing a clown outfit.
Yeah, fuck that.
I wonder if the guy was like trying to scare the people and then finally choosing somebody to do
That
it.
was one of
That's
those
what-
rare things when...
Ooh, it's creepy.
No, it's...
You gotta think, you know? Sentences.
I mean, I was focusing. And sometimes I notice I get this random head rush and I forget to breathe.
Yeah, I know.
Like-
You were playing your game and then you had a thought and there was like nothing.
Yeah, but it's... When there was killer clowns, you know, and people were like, stay in your car. First off, obviously. Second off, why would you get scared? Just run them over. Like you're in a
Oh,
vehicle.
the ones that were around our town.
Yes.
Yeah, that was creepy.
That were like, if the okay, I'm just PSA. If there's a clown with a knife acting like they're wanting to cause me harm, and I am in my car, I'm running you over.
I don't even know if that's classified as self-defense. Because
Let it
technically
be.
they can't really do anything to you when you're in the car.
Let it be vehicular manslaughter. I don't care. It's a clown. If it bleeds, you can kill it. We gotta check.
No, it's just a clown. It's just a person dressed up in a costume. That's all it is.
You do not know that. What if they bleed rainbow?
Then they would be in the science lab.
In a horror
Thanks.
movie,
Just because you don't like clowns doesn't mean you have to exaggerate the situation.
it's clowns.
All right, I'm moving on from clowns because no one likes clowns.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when I was 7, my family and I were in a village in our vacation house. It was in the middle of a pretty dense forest, so there were many animals, which I loved a lot. I was sitting on a porch eating strawberries, and I see a squirrel sitting on the railing, clearly being careful, as it was what I was doing. I would imagine a comfortable distance. I took a strawberry and placed it on the railing in front of me, still far away from it, and went inside. When I went back outside, the strawberry was gone, so I assumed the squirrel took it. Next year, we were back at the house, and once again, out on the porch eating sunflower seeds. At the exact same squirrel just casually jumps up on the railing and sits right in front of me, looking at me expectingly. I put a generous amount of sunflower seeds on the table in front of me and leaned back, and after some time, it jumps on the table and starts eating. It did startle after a bit, but it was probably one of the best childhood memories I have. So not a scary story, but that was a cute story. Alright. Ooh.
Now I can bat around the body.
It's animals do learn where it's the easiest to find food, and if you happen to feed them, this is why when you feed You ever see those videos where there's like one deer and you feed it, and all of a sudden there's the whole deer family?
Yeah. Like they come and say thank you.
No, they don't come to say thank you. They bring their friends, and it's like, look, Karen is so stupid. She will feed all of us. Watch.
Alright, I'm trying to find a good one.
Just pick one.
Alright. Well, that one was like the one before was about Minnesota winters. And it's already winter and I don't
mean-
want to talk about it. I was talking about negative 30-degree weather.
They
Which
do be cold.
I'm not looking forward to.
It was -5 today.
Yeah, and it's only what, November 30th?
Yeah,
That's crazy. We still have 6 more months of this.
not quite.
It's only gonna get colder. It's probably gonna be like negative 45 next week.
Okay.
It was last year. Alright. I was young, maybe around 8 or so. My old brother and I were sitting in a room and suddenly the blinds closed. At the same time, started shaking like a ripple motion on the top to bottom. We froze. I noticed a shadow of a hand in the top left corner. That just happened to be where the big hole was in my window. We started laughing because we thought it was our dad playing a trick on us, so we called out to him real loud and heard him answer from the other side of the house. When we
See ya.
called out, my mom was thinking it was just her, but she was also answered from outside of the house with my dad. We started yelling and my parents came running in. After we explained to them to open the blinds, and there was a squirrel on the screen outside of my window, not uncommon for a slightly rural area in Alabama. They said that was all it was. Once my parents left, my brother looked at me asking if I saw the shadow of the hand as well. He said yes and described it to him in detail. I saw it extending from the top left and looked like a semi-long sharp fingernails. We couldn't figure out how the squirrel on the
It's
outside...
Slender Man, brother.
We couldn't figure out how the squirrel on the outside of the house could rattle the blinds from the inside of my room. I think my parents only told us that to calm down. I would agree.
I don't know. I watch TV.
Like, those
It's
things are
someone.
scary. Alright. I went to go drink water at the kitchen well past midnight and had to walk past a small indoor garden. I looked up because I felt watched. There was something watching me from the balcony of the top room, which was abandoned as a storage building. I aimed my crappy phone camera to see it as better because until then I thought I was just my dog that scraped from the nearby terrace. Escaped. Nope, something with a dog-like white was furless face watching me from inside that room. It was at least 2 meters tall and had black fur everywhere but its face. I rapidly took a picture and went to my room. Guess that explains those times I've heard something heavily moving from the blackouts. Due to the quality of the camera itself and how scared I was, I couldn't see anything but its nose and a bit of its mouth. But I clearly saw its shoulders and empty eyes. Later on, I was moving out. I got to enter there to retrieve something. The rotten wood floor almost couldn't support me. And that's just where it ends? It doesn't make any sense.
That just sounds like you were trespassing somewhere where you weren't supposed to be trespassing.
Basically.
And I almost paid the price for it.
Okay, my girlfriend and her sister and I were all celebrating her birthday in the mountains. I was DD and stayed sober the whole time. Anyways, we were having a good time, and when all of a sudden we heard a whistling from the forest, we heard it 3 times. But it was different kind of whistling and didn't sound human. The vibe was immediately ruined, and we were all packed up our things and started heading back to the car. As we walked back, we saw the silhouette of a man on a hill maybe 100 feet away from us and saw him shift from a man back into a dog and back into a man.
That's Twilight.
No, those are the shapeshifters that people talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. All 3 of us were
In
spooked.
Twilight, they turn to wolves.
But those aren't shapeshifters, those are wolves.
That also are men.
All of us were spooked and bolted back into the car. I swear I don't know what I saw, but what I know, whatever it wasn't human. The creepiest part about it is that we all saw the same thing. So the sober people and the drunk people saw the same thing. That's pretty cool. When I was 8, I went camping with my sister, who was 19 at the time, and she brought her boyfriend, and we were making s'mores when someone moved into the bushes. Was it a bear? I had no clue, but when I moved again, my sister's boyfriend went to check it out, then tried scaring us, but the bear crept right behind him, attacked her boyfriend. I was horrified by the sight of her boyfriend's face being clawed off and torn apart. The bear ripped him the top this beautiful part off. Ripped his head off, and I was absolutely petrified, and left her immediately scared and called 911. They didn't bother doing much as they made the call. He was already gone. Me and her went to therapy for a few years, and now 23, and I'm still horrified by the sight of woods.
Like just like forest?
Yeah, like going into a forest.
That reminds me of, what's that Netflix TV show? It's called Bitten or something, where there's people talking about how they've been attacked by wild animals.
Oh, I think we watched that together, did we not? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to there, where there was the guy
But they
that
survived because they could tell about it.
Well, right.
Jesus. Okay, this one's a little bit longer. When I was 10, I woke to a loud buzzing sound. I thought there was a stereo. Nobody else was awake. I went to turn off and realized it wasn't on. Then I saw lights outside the house. I thought they were headlights at first and approached the door to go outside. I realized there were no headlights. They were not positioned correctly, nor did they illuminate the ground. There was about 6 of them scattered around, and I could see through our window. I became terrified and froze in fear. Then I went back to bed, asked everyone if they saw or heard anything in the morning during breakfast, or if anybody would have been on our property that night. The answer were all no, so I didn't tell anyone what I saw or heard. A psychologist told me that it was probably just a dream. I don't believe it was a dream. It disturbed me a lot. I didn't talk about it for about 20 years, out of fear and ridicule. I almost forgot the event entirely until something dug it up. I have no mental illness. I'm not on drugs. It's good to know. It's good to know. Since then, in adulthood, I've seen a bee land on my window and emit lights from its antennas. No evidence or otherwise witness makes these events hard to talk about. Fortunately, I had another person witness with me a dark figure in the backyard that shapeshifted to conceal itself and float around before it darted off. We thought it was a intruder at first. I got the other person, and when I saw the dark figure, it instead what approached to be a black trash can. I was confused until it suddenly morphed into a person. It looked like a shadow person, the kind of ran in circles before going around the corner. We witnessed all of this again through the window while looking outside. I was happy to finally have someone else witness something that I saw 20 years ago and didn't feel crazy about it.
That's like that Netflix show Unsolved Mysteries, or whatever it's called.
Yeah. But now they're getting like more and more of these shapeshifters, and I don't know if you've seen on Reels and like Facebook where they do these videos. Like the most popular one is American Idols. So they'll take an American Idol video, or what is America's Got Talent. That's what it is. They'll take those videos of like the judges reacting, but then they'll make it with an AI video. So it'll start with somebody like coming out, be painted as a giraffe.
Yes.
And then they shapeshift into a giraffe. I don't like those because they look so realistic. They're not real, but they look so realistic, and it's like, can we just not use AI?
Makes me think some of mushies.
True. All right, how far are you in your game?
35 minutes.
Are you winning?
Yes.
It's a good game.
Yeah, it's a very good game.
Oh, nice. Like that. All right, you ready for a UFO story?
That I don't believe it.
Yeah, we're gonna listen to it. All right. I've got a UFO story. In my car with my 2 friends going to a Halloween party in 2019. We live in LA, driving on the freeway towards Flint Ridge. I'm in the back seat, and the right is the mountains. I see a fluorescent blue ball of light in the sky above the mountains. It's far in the distance at this point. I mention it to my friends, and they see it too. We were speculating. There we go. That was a hard word to get out. Speculating on what it could be. But they eventually talk amongst themselves while I still kept keeping an eye out for it. At this point in my life, I was really interested in UFOs. I had many experiences during this time, and if you look to the sky often long enough, you'll see strange things.